Hello and welcome to Ham Nation, episode 568 for March 27th, 2024. And hello, everybody. I'm Josh, KI6NAZ. Thanks for clicking on Ham Nation here on the Ham Radio Crash Course. Got a packed show with some poignant information that you need, like the upcoming Eclipse. What do you need to do as a ham radio operator to help with the really fun science experiments that are going to be taking place? So stay tuned for that. But first, let's go talk to our hosts. Hello, hosts. How are you this fine week?
Hello, hello, hello.
How are you doing?
What have you heard?
I hear we got a lot of things coming up here in ham radio. We got Ham Fest, we got the Eclipse. There's all kinds of fun stuff going on, but we'll start at the top of the pyramid to find out what he's been up to. Gordo.
All is well here on the West Coast, and we can't wait for the eclipse, but we must because it only comes one time.
Very good. Well, thank you for joining us again, Gordo, and we'll be hearing with him shortly for some short shots. Short shots, that's it. How's it going, Don?
I don't know yet, but I think I'm okay. We are really excited about the eclipse down here because unlike the last one, what was that, 2016, I think, whatever it was, we were like 40%, I think. We're going to be in 80% down here in the New Orleans, Louisiana area. My sister up around, in fact, a lot of my birth family up around San Antonio and Dallas and Houston, they're going to be some in totality and others down around Dallas, maybe not quite, but really, really close. But I'm excited, and we've got a special report from Dr. Tamitha Skov tonight telling you all about space weather and the eclipse and some of the other things that's going on. So, yeah, it's going to be a good one tonight, Josh.
Well, again, thank you for being on, and I'm excited to hear more about it. And in Amanda's seat, we have a guest host. Steve Goodgame has joined us. Amanda's very busy this month, so she's going to have to step back a little bit. But we're going to find some guest hosts to hop on. And this week, it's going to be Steve. How you doing, Steve?
Good. I've got a better haircut than Amanda.
Well, you definitely have cut more of it than she has. That's true.
Certainly closer.
Yeah. But we're caffeinated, so we're ready to roll.
Yeah.
I'm glad
Well,
to be
thanks
here.
again, everybody. But we're going to move right forward because we got a lot of things to hit. And we got some announcements later on in the show. So that means we're jumping right over. I'm going to say hi to Gary. Gary, how are you doing? Yeah, so I guess give us the lay person. Tell us what's going on. Obviously, I think everybody kind of knows an eclipse is happening. But for the lay ham out there, what do they need to know to participate, and what's this all about? So I just got a comment from the chat. Hold on one second. There was no audio from Gary, so hold on. Gary, can you give him an audio check one more time? Or check?
QRZ, hello radio.
Chat, did you guys hear that? Because you heard the host, but they didn't hear... Start him over. Still... But you heard the host, right? Oh, and now they hear... I don't know what just happened. Gary... You did a great job on that answer. Would you like to do it one more time?
Take two.
All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good evening, all. I belong to an organization called HamSci, the Ham Radio Science Citizens Investigation. We're a group primarily of volunteers. We consist, in small part, a group of space physics researchers who like to investigate the ionosphere and other phenomena which affect radio propagation. The majority of the group is made up of citizen scientists, and those are primarily ham radio operators. The reason these two groups work together so well is the physicists and the scientists, they love big data. They have a lot of data. They like to work with data to try to understand how the ionosphere works, why radio waves propagate, why sometimes they propagate well, and why sometimes they don't. We as hams can take a huge role in generating data for them simply by getting on the air, making QSOs, and especially during the upcoming eclipse. So that's why we've got an event called the Solar Eclipse QSO Party coming up on April 8th.
Excellent. I'm on your website, too, and there's some links in the description so people can follow along because they may need the information after the fact. But so we've got an eclipse coming up. There's only a couple of minutes window that hams can participate in this, but provide that big data. How would a ham go about helping provide big data? We like providing data. How do we do that?
I'll step back and say, though the eclipse, if you're in the path of totality, may only last 3 to 4 minutes,
Oh.
the real eclipse event lasts about 6 or 7 hours because it hits the Texas coast, has to travel across the entire continental United States, off the main coast and off the maritime. So the eclipse event itself is quite long. As far as HAMSI, our solar eclipse QSO party is a 10-hour event, starts at 1400 UTC and ends at 2400. The way to make data is to get on the air. If you're on CW during that time, call CQ-SEQP or CQ test. You'll get picked up by things like the reverse beacon network. That'll create data. We'll know who's transmitting and where they're transmitting from. If you're an FT4 or FT8 operator, get on the air, make contacts on those modes, make sure you're connected to the internet, and you've got that little checkbox in the configuration that says send reception reports to PSK reporter, because all those signals that scroll through your receive window will be sent off to PSK reporter. To make a long story short, what this data will contain is a couple of things. It'll have time, date, and frequency, but also who the transmitting station was and where they're located, and who the receiving station was and where they're located. So each one of those QSOs creates a chunk of data. And you multiply that 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 million, we get a real good picture of where QSOs were happening before, during, and after the eclipse. We can see within that data, say 20 meters was open at 10 o'clock in the morning between Ohio and Florida. But perhaps when the eclipse passes by, the band closes down. Somebody like me in Ohio can maybe only get to Tennessee. You'll see that in the QSO data, and the scientists will pick that up.
Is there any particular band of curiosity, or is it any kind of FT8 contact, or I guess whisper too? Does that work?
Yeah, there's the bands, as long as we stay off the work bands, because we don't want to be doing contesting on the work bands. 10 through 160 is great. When people ask me what bands to operate, I tell them to operate on the band that you enjoy operating on the most, where you have the best signal, because that's the way the most people will pick you up. So, but you're right, Josh, we've got both two-way QSOs in the Solar Eclipse QSO party, and we've got another event called the Gladstone Signal Spotting Challenge, where one-way signals, whisper transmissions and whisper transmission reports will create data. We'll also score that and rank the participants after it's all over.
Interesting. Okay. I'm on the HAMSI website now, and can you point me to kind of where the QSO party is so that I can probably drop the link for the people in chat?
Yeah, it's real simply. It's hamsci.org/eclipse, but somewhere below those symbols of all those universities are some quick links.
Okay.
And those 5 quick links, one of those should be the Festivals of Eclipse Atmospheric Science.
Got it. Okay, I'm going to grab that. Oh, okay, there it is. And yeah, this gives the details.
That lists all of our events, and it takes you to the rules and the frequently asked questions for the on-the-air events.
Okay. Now, let's see. Bands 40, 75, and 160, but you said if you're doing 6 through 160 for the HAMSI events. Got it. And is there any so FT8 whisper, do you care if it's low power, high power? Does that matter? Does the type of antenna matter? Like if I have a gain antenna, does that change the data at all?
No, it doesn't. Just again, get on the air with what you've got. If you're operating, say, a POTA event, maybe you're out in the field, set your power levels to make your battery last the longest. That's good enough for us. We don't depend very heavily on signal reports because they're kind of nebulous. Everybody has a different antenna. Everybody has a different set of ears. S7 to me, maybe S9 to Neil, or that sort of thing. So we basically look more on a binary basis. Where are those QSOs occurring or not occurring?
How do you deal with the band changes as well as the QSOs happening, not happening? Because you get kind of band shifts throughout the day. How does that affect this?
Right. The band shifts are the things we kind of expect, and these usually happen over a long period of time. The eclipse effects come by relatively quickly. In a particular location, say where I'm at in Cleveland, within plus or minus 30 minutes of the eclipse passing overhead, we'll see a dramatic shift. And you wouldn't see that kind of dramatic shift on a normal day.
Do you see those? You said 10 hours, right? It's a 10-hour event, right? Do you see obviously you'd see dramatic shifts during the eclipse, but is it how major are those changes throughout that 10-hour period?
Well, for instance, in 2017, which we've done a lot of analysis on, there were, thousands of QSOs happening in a range of 1,000 to 2,000 kilometers about an hour and a half before the eclipse. And the eclipse passed overhead, and the point of reference was in central Kansas. We dropped down to 200 to 300 QSOs per hour in that range. So it was a very dramatic difference.
Wow.
That's impressive. So, Gary, is there anything you'd like people to know that maybe we haven't got the message out on or that ham should be aware of?
No, just, even though the QSO party is a 10-hour event, I don't want people to think they need to get on at 1400 and do the iron butt thing and sit in the chair for 10 straight hours. If you've only got a couple of hours to get on, please do so. The only thing the only thing that might not be good is if you're a mobile station, because then you're moving. The Earth is moving, the sun is moving, the moon is moving, and if the station's moving, that really throws a loop to the data. But anybody else, now the good thing about submitting a log afterwards, if you're really into contesting, but even if you're not, use N1MM, use WSJT. When you go to our website, you see the rules, you'll see how to upload your log. And when you do so, that gives us an accurate representation of your location. What's your 6-digit grid square? And that's really important to the research.
Okay, so make sure you got the grid square. And if you're using WSJTX and FT8, make sure you update your grid square to be accurate, right? Otherwise, You're really going to be lost. Yeah. All right. Well, Gary, we appreciate you taking the time. I'll provide links. Links are in the description for the show. But if anything else comes up, let me know, and we'll make sure we get the word out for that, okay?
All right. Thank you very much. Good talking with everyone.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Do appreciate it. Thanks, Gary. Now we're gonna throw it over to Gordo, and he's gonna tell us about his short shots this episode.
All right. Well, a very good evening to all. And Steve and I, Steve doing the hard work, and I'm just along for the club Elmers. But between the two of us, we think that demonstrations and visuals are quite important. So let's take a look at connections. Yeah, we're getting ready for the solar eclipse reports. Everybody's got fuses. When was the last time you took a look at your fuse? And if it's a little bit corroded, give it a little bit of sanding and make sure your fuses are in good shape. If you got a fuse that looks like this that's been outside, toss it. There is no hope. Good connections also on your pets. For those of you that have some of the pet radio collars, you absolutely panic when these not being found. Make sure that the 2032 battery that goes inside is firmly seated and not rattling around. You don't want a bad connection there. For those of you mobile or maritime mobile with automatic antenna tuners, very important that you check that they haven't vibrated loose the reactance output wire. That's a single wire output. It can't be run next to any other wire because that's where your antenna starts. And a good ground will make sure that your tuner plays well, but only if that has not vibrated loose as a bad connection. Well, we know the PL259s. Yeah, that's great. Just screw them right in and they're good to go. Well, they aren't good to go if they've been covered with a lot of rain or snow. So double check that you've unscrewed it and you make sure that everything is nice and clean. Maybe even do a little polishing on both the interconnection as well as the PL259 connection there that you see. Make sure you have a good, solid connection. Lots of people with the dual band antennas made by Comet and Diamond. That's great. If they're made by Comet and Diamond, they've got a good seal on them. They're not going to ingress moisture. But there's a lot of antennas that are made by other folks from overseas, and they may lack a little something at this joint right here. Some are 3 sections, some are 2 sections, and of course the one section has no joint. You should be able to back it off, take a look and make sure that the little rubber O-ring is in place and nice and strong. If you back it off slightly and this is damp, this is not a good sign. In fact, you wonder where your range was? Well, it went into water. So, and even after you've dumped all the water out of that dual band antenna, it's not going to be the same because the water has pooled at the base. And when that does, it eats up all the copper connections. The Anderson connectors love exercise, and after you put them on with a professional Anderson tool, make sure that you can't pull the Anderson feeding wire out. If you can pull it out with a little tug, you're probably not using the correct Anderson tool. Red right return on the bottom. This is how you line up. Make sure that the red positive is on the right-hand side when looking at the rear, and that the connection is well gripped by those Anderson power poles. Yep, this is what happens if you see Andersons out in the open. Many times the plastic becomes brittle and breaks, and you can't count on any kind of connection there once the plastic breaks. And if you take a look at that left-hand tip, you see it's all corroded. Andersons love to be exercised. So if you've got an outside Anderson, take a look by unplugging it, plug it in, and do that for about 15 minutes, and that will polish up the Anderson connections. And if you've got an Anderson power block and you pull the Anderson out and it comes off the circuit board, well, don't throw that power block away, even though it's got a couple of little pins that are no longer making contact, and those are nothing more than sturdy wire. You need to get them back into their proper position. Here's the back side now that they're in proper position, but you do need to solder them. If you're going to try and solder with a pencil iron, you'll never get them hot enough to stay in place. So hit them with a good soldering iron or a good soldering gun, and you'll make sure that they don't pull out. Now, very, very important, anytime you're snipping off either a tie or a little piece of wire like this, that is a flying object that could blind you in a microsecond. Always make sure that you cover that exposed end when you're clipping it, because that piece of shrapnel comes airborne. Same thing with tight ties. Make sure that you're never standing right in front of them when you clip them off. So a little safety there. There's a nice good connection on the inside of the board. Fuses, yeah, we all got fuses. They too can sometimes have a bad connection. And on the fuses, I like those power blocks that have an LED that light up if the fuse is not connected or the fuse is blown. What the heck would blow a fuse? I've got just a minor load on it. Well, here you are. When you go to install the fuse, make sure your power block is totally turned off with no DC feeding it, because look what's happening to that lower fuse blade. It's actually grounding out on the block, so watch out for that. And there is nothing worse than losing a fuse inside that power block. So double check that the very professional power blocks have a little red LED that tells you if the fuse is blowing or not. Here's some good examples of the real pros that build these for days of use. Again, if you've got one of these kludges, while it may work inside for a year, it's really good to plug them in, unplug them, plug them in, unplug them for about 10 minutes to clean up those connection points. And just when you think you got everything set for this past weekend's Baker to Vegas public safety race that I took part in, not running, but comms, Neil's checking everything out here. And what we found is that's the NMO connections. Now, the NMO relies on a compression touching each side of that circuit. Here's a little gold-plated or copper-plated or who knows what plated center conductor surrounded by the outside negative, and a little tiny blade will rest on it, and your connection is made. That can become corroded, especially on a vehicle if you've driven years and years or days and days. So make sure that you unscrew it and take a look and see where that little tab is. Well, we had a bad connection on one of the radios, and we found that the tab had been compressed so hard that it nested inside, and we had no connection. Well, the way we can do that is to, with a fingernail, slightly raise that contact point, and doing so, you've raised it just enough to make a good solid connection. So if you got NMO mounts, watch out what's happening. And of course, in the rain, that's usually when these connections are ready to let go. So watch your connections, exercise your connection points, and you'll be set for the next event, hopefully for the upcoming solar eclipse. So back to you,
Gordo.
Josh.
Yeah, question while we got you here. If Andersons are not necessarily the greatest for outdoor connections, what do you recommend, or how do you keep them safe other than just go out there and work on them for 10 minutes?
Well, I certainly do not recommend the Andersons for any outdoor connections, and I always just try and run solid wires, stranded wires, 12 gauge or 14 gauge or even 10 gauge to either solar panels or whatever, and try to avoid any connection outdoors.
Excellent. All right, well, thank you, Gordo. Thank you for your always insightful short shots. We do appreciate it. I've got Steve here. Our guest host, Steve, is back with us to kind of give us an update on what's been going on with him as the learning manager for the ARRL. But first, Steve, are you well caffeinated so far? You're on the East Coast.
I'm
working on. How you doing, buddy?
It is an hour and a half past my bedtime.
Oh, man.
We're making it. We're making it. I've got the coffee. I've got the emergency. G Fuel or whatever that's called. 400 milligrams or something of caffeine.
I appreciate you doing this. We appreciate you taking the time. So what's been going on with you? I know you continue to be busy. You're flying all over the place. What's been happening?
Yep, I stay busy. I just got back from Colorado at the National Science Teachers Association. It's always fun to be around people that enjoy nerding out together. And those are definitely our people. Promoting Teachers Institute and talk to several hundred really good candidates who are interested in coming. So that was good. Working with Gordo. Gordo, as we all know, is our national instructor at the league, and so we're working through some of those transition things and getting instructor resources and stuff ready to go. Looking forward to partnering up in Dayton with Gordo and his instructor forum. We're getting our Dayton stuff ready. As we know, this is our national convention this year, and so we are holding a youth rally. You can see more information about that at arrl.org/expo. I forgot to give you that link earlier,
pull it up right now.
it's just if you were within that age group, then you can register, and we've got a day of events, stuff like a youth jump, and get to work Carlos as a parachute mobile station, some escape room stuff, going to run a little contest, a little sprint with the kiddos, and just several little things. And then some of our other partners, like Neil's going to come over and promote his. Oh, by the way, Neil, you're going to come over and promote your Yoda camp. Because for those kids that are already licensed, we definitely want to keep them engaged, and Neil does a great job with that.
What's the URL again for the expo?
ARRL.org/expo. That's it.
Oh, that is it. Okay, because it changed it. Okay, good. So yes, we got it then.
Yep. And then somewhere down there's a blue button for that for kids. If you're there, it is. Register.
Excellent. I'll copy the link.
For the youth rally. It's $20 for them to register. Obviously, the kids already get into to Dayton free, but it gets them a T-shirt and some other stuff in there that's custom. We want to kind of flood Dayton with a bunch of kids in those T-shirts to make their presence known. We're going to host a youth lounge also in the booth area next to the collegiate folks, so that we can keep some kids engaged with stuff there, and they can float back and forth between our lounge. And Neil normally has a lounge with some chips and stuff like that, so we try to do some of that. And then we are ramping up our Teachers Institute. So we're running 7 of those things this year.
Wow. Is that up? How many did you do last year?
5.
Excellent. That's fantastic.
So We're doing 7 of them. We've got 4 of the first one, TI1, running 2 of the Teachers Institute 2s, and we're in the process of building a Teachers Institute 3, which is going to focus on a lot of space communication, some balloon stuff. We can thank the government for making balloons suddenly popular.
Right.
And some other stuff in there. So we've already started getting some of that equipment in. Some of the manufacturers and vendors are bending over backwards to get us equipment at a price that we can fit more people in. So, people like Yasu, for the first time, we're giving Zoom spots to every teacher.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
So we're doing that because, they're already getting a Yasu FT70 that's got Fusion in it. So I want them to have a Zoom spot, and we're building a Fusion room or whatever their term is. I know they have Wires X rooms and YSF. So we're going to build a YSF room or whatever and connect all of these schools.
Great. That's really smart. Yeah, that's a good idea. I love that. Yeah.
And that way, if a kid in a classroom wants to talk to another kid in a classroom, they've got the FT70, they've got the Zoom spot hooked up. Bada bing, bada boom, do the fandango, and they can talk. So
very good.
And as the years go on, we'll just keep adding more and more of these. We'll give out 90 of these things this year.
Wow.
So we'll have 90 classes connected.
That's very impressive. Yeah, that's very good.
So we're hoping it turns into just a huge network of kids that can interact, because a lot of schools only have a few of them, and so you have a few in one and a few in another, and then we can kind of start growing that community that way.
Excellent.
And then I'm sending out a ton of stuff with that ARDC grant that I got to get some STEM kits out. We're sending electronics kits, Arduino kits, and Geocrons. Patrick at Geocron also bent over backwards to help us get a decent price on that to be able to get some of these to schools. So, the Geocron is great eye candy if you've not seen one.
Yeah, it's a good demonstrator for kids. Yeah.
It's, leaving that thing running in the background for that kid that gets done with his work early. I'd rather him watch and try to figure out what all those things are and, track the ISS and it's working. We're already getting feedback from teachers that have gotten it saying, wow, this is amazing. The kids are asking questions. So that's kind of what I've been up to in a nutshell.
I've got a couple other links.
Got a few more conferences to go to.
Yeah, how many conferences are you at now a year? Or where you're aiming at to be this year?
Well, let's see. This year it'll be probably 6, I think. I really need to add a 7th one. I'm working on a couple really big projects that involve STEM curriculum stuff, and so I need to hit a couple other of the larger science teacher conferences.
And that's conferences. That's not Hamfest. You're still doing Hamfest.
Correct.
You're still doing all the other stuff too.
That's conferences. There was one stretch that I was on the road for 13 days without coming home.
Wow.
And so my dogs thought I died or something, and I did laundry at the whatever hotel it was. So actually my wife did the laundry because I would turn everything pink. Yeah. And but yeah, it's busy. I will go and throw out there, since there are 353 people sitting in the room, I am hiring. So if you are familiar with education and ham radio, then and are interested in helping grow this program and several of the other things, I would love to talk to you. So shoot me an email. It's just k5ata@arrl.org. And we're at this point, I'm hiring one assistant manager. I fully anticipate hiring even more in the future.
That's great.
So, with all the growth and everything we're seeing in STEM and the education department, it is way beyond more than myself and my assistant can handle. We don't want to talk about how many hours a week I'm working, but Gordo knows. So,
indeed, yeah.
So if you're interested, I would love to talk to you.
And I'm also dropping the link so you guys can check that out as well. And if you're not even in the area, but if you're passionate about this, give Steve a message, and maybe you can help him out. We got another link here too. We might as well give the shout out for Gordo, right? If you go to arrl.org, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, this is the landing page for Gordo. It's awrl.org/Gordon-West, or you can get there with just Gordon West, or even just /GW. We created a bunch of ways to find Gordo there. And this is kind of the initial landing page as we're transitioning things over, so that people can kind of quickly find where Gordon's resources are. A lot of them are currently housed on the Learning Center. We're still sorting out how that's going to look and getting some of the resources from the previous publisher and whatnot. So if you're an instructor that's always worked with Gordo's materials, this is the first place to stop and have a look. And it has links to the Learning Center and whatnot. And I'll go ahead and put it out there. If you are one of Gordon's instructors that's coming over, in order to get the discount, we do offer it's a 25% discount with free shipping on anything for teaching licensing classes and stuff like that. You'll need to register as an instructor for ARRL, and that's just a quick little form you fill out and we process it and put it in. So it is not a difficult process at all. You don't have to take a test or anything like the VEs. You just sign up and say, I want to do good work, and we'll do it.
Excellent. Well, Steve, as always, thank you for filling in for us and catching us up on what's been going on with the Learning Institute and your good work there as well. So again, links are in the description to check that out. And Steven, if you can't make it through the rest of the show, you just got to head. It's okay, buddy. We got your back. You can go crash.
I'm very caffeinated right now. I'm good.
All right. Well, we do appreciate it. Thanks for coming out. All right, we're gonna go hear a word from Icom. Hang tight, everybody.
IC7610 is the STR every ham wants. Faint signals are no longer a challenge for contesters or DXers. The high-performance RMDR can pick out the faintest of signals even in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. This direct sampling software-defined radio has changed the world's definition of an SDR transceiver. RF direct sampling, 110 dB RMDR, independent dual receivers, and dual digicell. Keep your competitive contesting edge with the Icom IC7851. Contesters and DXers are always looking for that competitive edge to magically pull out the weak signals needed to climb up the list. With faster processors, higher input gain, higher display resolution, and a cleaner signal, the IC7851 is the pinnacle of HF perfection. 110 RMDR, 1.2 kHz optimum roofing filter, digital IF filters, digital voice recorder, high-resolution spectrum waterfall display, enhanced PC connectivity, and SD memory card slot. For more information about Icom's amateur radios and to locate a dealer, please visit icomamerica.com/amateur today. For the love of ham radio.
And a big thank you to Icom. Where's that website we can show you? There it is. Make sure you check this out when you go there. Make sure you refresh it so the radios all pop into place. Every month, Icom gives away a radio. Whenever you watch Ham Nation, you can enter that drawing by clicking the Enter Now button. The link is in the description. Every time we're live, however, though, we give away 3 swag packs, and the winners of those swag packs get added to the hat, the electronic hat, where we pull a name to pick a winner for that radio. This month's winners are Jason L, KC0JLO, Selena I, KF0OUC, there you go, that's it, Jeff B, KM8RTT. So congratulations to you all, and you might just win a radio at the end of the month. What are we giving away at the end of March? Or did we already do that? I think we did it, so we're rolling into April. Yeah, we did last week. So next month is going to be the ID2730, which recently we've been talking a lot about on the Ham Radio Crash Course After Chat as being a real solid VHF, UHF radio. So thank you, Icom, for all the support. We really do appreciate it. I get to continue on my interviewing duties here. We're talking to Bill. So, Bill, give me an audio check to make sure we got the audio thing sorted out with Skype. We've been having some problems, and we'll check the chat to make sure you're loud and clear. How you doing, Bill? Well, let's see. What's the chat say about that? Hopefully you guys give them a 5.9. Otherwise, I'll be diving in again. We were monkeying around with some of the settings in last episode we did, and I think I got them sorted out. But we'll see. We'll see what the chat says. Go ahead and give them another howdy there. There we go. Negative. No audio. Jeez. Okay. Man, we're having all kinds of trouble. It's the Skype change that Skype updated as well, so I think we're good. All right, so Bill, you are with us from the Visalia International DX Convention. Also, you have a wonderful picture in your background. That's definitely not Visalia, though, right?
No, I don't know where that came from. Who put that up?
Isn't that the Thomas Jefferson Memorial, I believe?
Oh.
Yeah. I think, well, I'm checking the audio here on the chat. Got audio from Bill, so we're good. All right, excellent. So, Bill, catch us up. What's going? How far away are we? 2 weeks? Just a little over 2 weeks?
Just a little over 2 weeks. You know, a little history on this. It started 75 years ago. This is the 75th convention. It started out with a gang of hands from the Southern California wanting to meet with a gang of hands from Northern California, DXers, and they decided to meet at lunch on a Saturday in Central California, of course. It grew. They stayed overnight, and then they had breakfast, and then it grew, and they started coming on Friday, and then it grew, and they started coming on Thursday. And our schedule is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Mm-hmm. People arrive as early as Wednesday, so it's a big event, and it's basically DX focused.
Excellent. And so I guess walk people through it, because there's a number of talks, there's a number of special things you guys do, and some things that are kind of unique to the show. So go ahead.
Sure. We have, I think, 25 presentations. It's packed Friday and Saturday, literally. We have 25 presentations. We have 2 academies. We have a contest and a DX academy, and top-notch guys. I mean, Paul Ewing is doing the DX academy. He's put together a team, and they go through and teach you nuts to bolts on how to DX. And then Chris Tate, N6WM, is running the contest university right after it. So we're running 3 tracks. That's 1 track, and then we have 2 tracks filled with presenters, various technical presentations, and I think 10. It looks like 12 now. 12 DXpedition presentations. So incredible. This is the peak of the sunspot cycle. And people are, if you haven't been on the air, people have been out and around all over the place. And we have Clipperton Island, Tumotu, H40WA, they just came back. I got to say a shout out to Paul. He was at Clipperton, and he's working very hard with the convention, and he was emailing me from Clipperton, and then he got into town for about a day, and then he started emailing me on the way to Tumotu, and then he was emailing me while he was operating during those events. We have Swains Island, presented by Adrian Chapurka, Juan Fernandez. Lots and lots of interesting DX locales. You know, DXing brings the world together as far as geography, as far as politics. Ham radio does, basically, but DXing is like one of the core things. And there are so many. We're going to have 20 non-U.S. visitors, attendees. The furthest is going to be Chad from Kenya, 5Z4VJ, and he's going to be there. We have people coming from South America, from the Pacific, and a lot of Northern Europeans are coming too. So it's always fun to meet people and to greet. Last year was the first time since COVID, and it was the best convention ever, I thought, because everybody was happy to see each other. That was just really a good experience.
So you also have Oh, I was going to add, you have a really packed schedule as well, and it's in the link. But I think one of the things that's kind of unique is that there is like a banquet set up, particularly on Saturday, and then there's a breakfast on Sunday. What's kind of the story behind that?
Well, we had to get, as you all know, Chip Margelli became a silent key. He stepped up actually he was the first one when we put out the call. He said, "I'll do it." And yeah. Anyway, so we found this new presenter, new MC. Who is he?
He's me.
Yeah.
It's quite an honor to be able to follow in Chip's shoes on this one. So they're going to take it easy, they said, on me, because this is my first time going as well. So it should be fun all around, at least to come out and see me trip over myself a little bit. But I'm excited.
Yeah, it'll be fun. You'll have a great time. Honestly, it's a group of great people, and they really and this is the core group because we're a little under this time. So, but the people that are coming back are really want to be there. We have a banquet and a breakfast. The banquet, we have presentations and a keynote speaker as well as at the breakfast, and we have a ton of prizes. I think you mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. You had a ton of prizes. We cut it to about a half a ton. Okay, so, but it's the top radios. We have a K4D from Elecraft. We have two FT101 FTDX 101 MPs, the top of the line. We have FTDX 10s. We have, all kinds of stuff. JK is sending us. We have an event station, and JK Antennas is sending us a C3 S to use the event station. We're going to raffle it off as well at the end. So somebody's going to go with a good tri-band Yagi, 201 tri-band Yagi. Lots of hourly prizes. We have like 50 hourly prizes, and we have four hours where we draw. Just a lot of good stuff, and I'm kind of amazed. I'm doing I had to pick up the vendor prize job, and I'm amazed at how they stepped up. Bioeno, I'll give them a shout out. They weren't going to they couldn't make it. They had a problem. They couldn't make it, but they doubled their prize donation, and it's amazing. I mean, we have a good relationship with the vendors and manufacturers, and that's really good. We also have an exhibit room. In the exhibit room, Flex Radio will be there. Elecraft will be there. Radio Sport, that's Arling Communications. We have a regular ham radio or high-tech liquidators will also be there, and there's a bunch others. A new company called Halibut. Have you ever heard of Halibut yet?
Halibut. I'm familiar with the fish, but that's all I got.
Yeah, he makes a very interesting device. It's a wireless interconnect to your headset, and you can have two operators sitting wirelessly going to this device and going to a radio. So both operators can operate the radio. This is good for contesting.
Wirelessly, though, so there's like a little box that plugs into it. Maybe I have heard of this.
Yeah,
it's the open headset standard guy, I think.
Yeah.
Then I didn't know he was calling it Halibut. I know that it was the open headset standard. We actually had him on this show before.
Mark Smith, yeah, nice.
He's doing it for the Halibut, right?
Yeah. Oh, is that why? I didn't know that. Yeah,
no, I don't know.
He's going to present on Friday morning on the open headset interface standard as well.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know. There's a ton of stuff. That's all I got to say. It's a great. I've been going since 1982.
Yeah.
So it's a tradition.
So this is one of those shows that, obviously, in the name, right? International DX Convention. It's all about getting those long distance contacts, and these are some of the names upon names of people who are the most active in this area and accomplished. So if you're interested in getting started in this area, this might be very much the place to come and check out. And it's not too hard to get to from, I think we talked about it last time we did a show. Where do people generally fly in if they wanted to drive to Visalia?
Well, some people fly into LAX and ride up with their people, or Sacramento, but the closest one I think is Fresno. Fresno's like 45 minutes away.
That's not bad.
If you have a small plane, Visalia has an airport.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, if you're like me, I'm driving from my hometown here, and I'm going to be stopping to do Parks on the Air all the way on Thursday. So I've got a couple of twofers lined up and a couple other stops I'll be doing. So make sure you guys are following me as well, because we'll be making contacts. But yeah, Bill, thanks for coming out and giving us some of the information there. And I'm really looking forward to it. And again, it's like 2 weeks away, guys. The link's in the description. If you think you can make it, go check out the registration page, because it's going to be a lot of fun. Well, thanks,
Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I get to rest my my vocal cords a little bit, and I let the golden voice take over. Don, it's all yours.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Let's go ahead and get into the news of the week from Amateur Radio Newsline, because right after that, we have got a special report from Dr. Tabitha Scove that's going to have our usual space weather report, and she's going to be talking a little bit about the eclipse, which is coming up on Monday, the 8th. So let's go ahead and get into Amateur Radio Newsline.
From Amateur Radio Newsline Report, number 2421, this is Ham Nation Headlines for Wednesday, March 27th, 2024. Hams in Ireland, whose summer travel plans include their radios, can plan on taking the Harmonized Amateur Radio Examination Certificate in May. Ireland's regulator has just received approval to give it.
The Commission for Communications Regulation has given approval to the Irish Radio Transmitters Society to hold a HARIC examination for the certificate. Under the Harmonised Amateur Radio Examination Certificate, the successful completion of the exam means certificate holders may apply for a licence in another HARIC country without having to sit the local exam. This is true for both CEPT and some non-CEPT countries. IRTS has scheduled the exam for Saturday the 11th of May in Dublin, with registration starting at 10:30 a.m. local time. It's hoped that an exam may also be offered in Kerry at the same time, subject to demand. Interested amateurs need to apply in advance and should visit the IRTS website to download and complete the application form. It can be found under the header Applying for an Exam. This is Jeremy Boot, G4NJH.
The community of QRP operators has lost a well-known and influential member of its inner circle.
Dieter Gensau, W8DIZ, was well known in QRP circles, having carved out a reputation as both a leader and a mentor. Known by the nickname Diz, he was a veteran of the United States Coast Guard and a founder of the Flying Pigs QRP Club International. Diz died on the 3rd of March and was reported as a silent key on QRZ.com. He ran a popular business, kitsandparts.com, with his wife Nancy. He was also well known for leading the popular Build-a-thon at the 4 Days in May event in the early 2000s during Dayton Hamvention. And according to Brian, KB9BVN, another member of the Flying Pigs QRP group, quote, was a consummate designer and builder of all kinds of radio-related projects ranging from amplifiers, antenna tuners, transceivers, and diagnostic gear aimed at the amateur radio builder and maker, end quote. He had created a series of QRP radio kits called the One Water series, which he sold through his business. Born in 1948, Diz was inducted into the QRP Hall of Fame in 2005. This is Travis Lisk and 3ILS.
If you enjoy working the birds, Newsline anchor Paul Brown, WD9GCO, has some encouraging news for you.
The CubeSat known as AO73 has put the fun back in FunCube. AMSAT reports that the transponder is back in action for amateur radio communication after a brief period of rest for its batteries. The satellite had been placed in safe mode on March 3rd, providing only low-power telemetry. The popular educational CubeSat has been in orbit since 2013.
A reminder, the nominating period for the Bill Pasternak WA6ITF Memorial Young Ham of the Year Award is now open and runs through the end of May. More information and a nominating form can be found at arnewsline.org under the Awards tab. And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news since 1976 at arnewsline.org. With Jeremy Boot, G4NJH, Travis Lisk, N3ILS, Paul Brown, WD9GCO, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe, I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. 7-3. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation.
And much appreciation to the Newsline crew for putting all that together. Now let's go ahead and get into The solar update from Dr. Tamitha Skov with a special emphasis on the eclipse.
We should be good, but let's let me double check it really quick as far as audio. Let's check the
This week
chat.
calms down a bit compared to last week. As we take a look at our Earth-facing disk, I'll remind you about this massive solar storm launch that we had. This was a very large solar storm. In fact, when we take a look at it in coronagraphs, you can see it was a full halo. That meant this solar storm was going straight towards Earth. In fact, it ended up being one of the fastest, if not the fastest solar storm I've seen in at least 2 solar cycles, which tells you a lot about this current solar cycle waking us all back up. However, this solar storm, sadly, the magnetic field was not oriented the right way to give us any aurora, so it ended up being a solar storm fizzle almost as soon as it hit us, and that's kind of left aurora photographers a bit on the downside. This event also gave us a big radiation storm. We've been dealing with that over this past week. In fact, you can see it build up here, starting around about the 24th into the 25th. It started really peaking. Once that solar storm hit, however, and we realized we weren't going to get any aurora, sadly, amateur radio operators were dealing with this big polar cap absorption event, which caused a big hole basically in the radio contacts in the polar regions. So sadly, instead of getting auroral propagation, you ended up getting basically noise on the bands. That's pretty much all it is. Meanwhile, we keep getting R2 level radio blackouts and R1 level radio blackouts, causing a bit of diminishing on the bands. You can see the contacts kind of dimming out a little bit on Earth's day side, but not too badly because these solar flares are not lasting all that long. And all of this flare activity is mainly from region 3615. But these 2 regions don't look like they're going to be giving us much more than what we've already seen as they begin to rotate to the sun's west limb. So what we're beginning to pay attention to are regions 3620, 3622, and there's a couple regions on the sun's far side. You'll see a couple poofs here and a poof here in just a moment that show you there's one in there, right there. See that big opening? Those were solar storms being launched. This one and one from region 3622 as well. They're not directed towards Earth, but it shows that these regions are solar storm producers, and the regions that are about to rotate back into Earth view, you'll see more about those in a minute when I talk about the sun's far side. But we definitely have the potential for more solar storms and big solar flares on the menu as we move into next week. So we don't have to worry about that, amateur radio operators. You get more chances, and aurora photographers too. Now, as we switch to our far-sighted sun, we can no longer use stereo A imagery to look at the sun's far side because stereo A is looking at the same side of the sun as we are. So we have to use HMI and AIA imagery of about 2 weeks ago to get an idea of what's lurking on the sun's far side. And lo and behold, look at this, region 3599. This was a big flare player the last time it was in Earth view. Definitely gave us a lot of activity, and this is the bad boy that is rotating back into Earth view. That's the region that is going to be lighting up our east limb here in the next couple days. In fact, here pretty quickly, I'll pull up the JSOC HMI helioseismology far-sighted viewer, and we'll talk about exactly what those regions are doing. Here we go. So you can see here was region 3614 and 15 as they rotated back into Earth view. This gold region here is the far side of the sun, and you can see 3599 as it begins to rotate to the sun's far side. You can also see regions 3608 and 3609, which also were a little bit of a interesting flare players. Not really big ones yet, but they're also surviving their far-sighted passage as I begin to play this. You can see 3599 staying as a dark region here in yellow, and 3608 and 3609. So as these regions begin to rotate back into Earth view here, which is going to be in the next 24 to 30 or 48 hours, we're going to be seeing more activity from these regions. We're going to be seeing big flares and possibly new solar storms as well. So there's a lot to look forward to. Are you ready for the total solar eclipse on April 8th? If you are anywhere in the northwestern hemisphere, look up and be amazed. This great eclipse will grace the skies over nearly the entire North American continent through the course of a full day on April 8th. An eclipse occurs when the moon crosses directly between the Earth and the sun, casting a shadow on the Earth below. Although eclipses happen often, they don't often occur over land, so it is a treat when we get to witness these spectacular celestial events. This great eclipse will begin over the coast of Mazatlan at approximately 11:07 a.m. Mountain Standard Time and proceed on a northeastward path through Mexico until it reaches the USA-Mexican border at Coahuila at 12:27 p.m. Central Daylight Time. It will then pass by San Antonio and Dallas, Texas, on its way northward through Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Tennessee, and Kentucky. By 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the moon shadow will be crossing over Indianapolis, Indiana, on its way to the Great Lakes. From there, it will cross through Ohio, Ontario, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine before completely crossing out of the USA, entering into New Brunswick, Canada at 3:32 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. From there, the eclipse will cross through Quebec, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and Labrador before ending this spectacular journey over the Atlantic at sunset. Test your skills of observation through citizen science opportunities at NASA. Activities include studying the changes in the sun's corona and comparing it to physics-based predictions like those found at Predictive Science, you can see right here, or for amateur radio operators, join the Festival of Eclipse QSO party at hamsci.org. But always remember to be safe while viewing the eclipse. Never look at it directly with your unprotected eyes or directly through binoculars, even if you're wearing the proper safety glasses, because these weren't designed for that. For more information on how to safely view this spectacular event, be sure to check out NASA's 2024 Total Solar Eclipse Safety Sheet. Happy viewing. For more details on this week's space weather, including how these big flare players could affect you, come check out my channel or see me at spaceweatherwoman.com.
There you go. The latest from Dr. Tamitha Skov and solar update, the eclipse update. And here's a tip for you. If you're going to be in the area of totality, we're going to be in 80%, like I said, down here in South Mississippi and around the New Orleans area. But don't try to take a picture of this with just the naked lens on your iPhone, just like you don't, or Android phone, your cell phone. Just like you don't want to look at this with the naked eye. You got to get the eclipse glasses. I know they're selling those, the good ones, at Walmart down here. And if you want to take a picture with your phone, just take one of the lenses from the eclipse glass and put it over the lens of your phone. That should be just fine if you want to take some pretty good still shots of the eclipse. That's what I'm certainly planning on doing. So again, great thanks to Dr. T. You can catch her at spaceweatherwoman.com and also at Tamitha Skov on X, and her YouTube channel is also Tamitha Skov. Let's switch gears now, and we're going to talk about youth in amateur radio. We're going to talk about some other things. And going to bring in Neil Rapp, WB9 VPG, who is this year's, congratulations, Neil, the YASME Award recipient. So congratulations, my friend. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's always nice to get some recognition, but I've had a whole lot of help to get to that point. A whole lot of supporters over the years, whether it was right, in schools, working in the high schools, or here in the last few years with Yoda, lots of people helping along the way. But always nice to get a little recognition. So that was very nice to get.
Yeah. And of course, we're proud to have you as part of the Newsline anchor team and reporter team as well. You hear Neil a lot on Amateur Radio Newsline. So fill us in on what's going on. What do you got going on? It's getting to be getting close to summertime, and you got Yoda, and we've got Young Ham of the Year kicking off, and so just take it away. Tell us what's going on in Neil world.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. I got the little globe from YASME, and that was real nice. And we also got to go down to the ARIS conference. We can look at a couple of pictures from that here in a little bit. But Yoda is on the move again. We are in Halifax, Nova Scotia this summer, July 7th through 12th. We've got a very nice contingent from Canada there, and we're going to be doing a lot of training of the staff this year, because Canada is going to start having their own sub-regional camps.
Nice.
They're going to be the first ones to start the sub-regional camps over here in the Americas. And so we're going to be training them, as well as our host for 2025, which will be back in the U.S. We'll be back in the U.S. for the next 2 or 3 years. We're still working on that, but we we will be out west. We'll leave it at that. We will be out west next year. So we'll have more details coming about that. But we're finally getting these sub-regional camps off the ground and also on tap for next year. I'm happy to say I'm finally getting some time to work on Kids on the Air. So we'll start our program for under 15. And it will be also a sub-regional camp, so it's like a 3-day weekend camp with parents. And the USA will be the first one up for the Kids on the Air in the Americas, at least. And so the reason that I've got time to do that is we're getting to the point now where the young people are really starting to take over a big chunk of the logistics and the planning for camp. And that's really been the focus of Yoda, is that the young people are teaching other young people, and they are making the plans and they're doing the work. And so we've got a great PR team that has been doing all kinds of things to promote youth in ham radio and our activities, as well as other youth activities, not just what we do with Youth on the Air, but all kinds of things, from scholarships to DX opportunities. We'll give a shout out here and check the phone again from Grace. I haven't heard from her in the last hour or so, but she is in St. Lucia right now. We have got a picture, I think, of her. She is down in St. Lucia she had an opening in the with the St. Lucia Contest Club down there. So she is operating J62K. She was on 14235 last I knew, but that was at the top of the show. So you might check 14235, but look around for J62K. She's down there to work the WPX contest this weekend. So and she, I sent her one of the Yoda flags, so she's got a picture with the
nice
Yoda flag hanging out there in St. Lucia. So she's warming up for that. So there's always, some activity out there. We're just trying to connect everybody, and Steve talked about building that community, and that's what we're doing, is building this community of youth so that they can support each other and be more likely to ask questions and learn from each other. And so that's been, the big push of Yoda. And like I said, this year we've got the PR team that they're pretty much running on their own. Ruth Willett came for LAO as my assistant director. She's taken on all the registration duties now. So she's doing a ton of that stuff. So I'm finally starting to get a little time to work on some of the new projects. So
good, Josh. If you
more
want to
good
pull
things
some of those,
coming up.
Yes,
some of those pictures up, and we can kind of narrate and see what's going on.
Let's take a look. Yeah, no, this was another fun thing we did. Ruth and I were able to go, and Taylor joined us, and Hope was there too. We were able to go to the ARIS conference in February, and I told them that they're going to have to get better security because these guys can't hit a thing. But we were there. In fact, sat next to Steve. And this is Richard Garriott. Got to meet him finally and talk to him a little bit. But we were having dinner under a Saturn V rocket there, and was able to share, what Yoda does with a lot of educators. And there you see our whole contingent there with Ruth and her parents and Taylor and Hope. We were all there to witness everything and just share what we're doing about Yoda and try to get teachers to send us more campers. So that's been fun. So yeah, there's Grace. She's down in St. Lucia. That was about 5:00 this afternoon. She sent me that picture. So
look at that monster antenna.
Yeah.
That's the
I'm
Super
telling
Step
you.
IR. Look at that thing. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, when we have these contest stations, if they're willing to open up the doors, we will definitely help find operators for these stations, and that's kind of what happened with this one. Was there was a last minute opening, and so we just threw it out there on our social media channels, and Grace is down there. So cool stuff. And yeah, there's the hardware. That was the award. Yeah,
that was nice.
Very cool, and we'll stipend
well deserved
to help out with some of the expenses of going around to all these places to spread the word about Yoda. And then I think we've got a folder of some. Oh, that's Young Ham of the Year. Can we get the
yes,
Yoda?
I'm just going
instead?
in the order I saw them. That was,
all right.
that was that's the trick of the trade. Just take. There we go.
Too many pictures, too many folders.
Right.
There we
Good
go.
pictures.
There we go.
There's our contingent from Ottawa last year, and so like I said, we're in Canada for the second year, and that's by design to kind of get them rolling. And we've got even a bigger Canadian contingent coming this year as our campers. Here we have a couple of guests that came over. Leon is a top-notch contester from Germany. In fact, he was one of the WRTC contestants. And Josipa is from Croatia. Yeah. And they came over and they brought the golden Yoda key with them. Now, if you don't know about the golden Yoda key, it's a Bengali key that travels to every Yoda camp over in Region 1, over in Europe and Africa. So it rotates around, and since they were coming, they sent us the key. So we were honored to have the golden Yoda key for the week up in Ottawa. Bengali's been nice enough that we have our own now, so we'll be sharing more about that a little later. But at Yoda Camp, we have all kinds of opportunities. We have some kit building going on here that you see, and Winta here is actually going to be working with us again this year. She's going to be directing our balloon launch up at camp, so you'll see some more of Winta, but she's here building some kits. Let's see, and Stefan, he's going to be there. They're actually blowing up the balloon there in the background, but he's going to be helping out with the balloon launch as well. So he'll be there. And let's see. Oh, Eris Contact. We are planning another Eris Contact. Ruth always does a great job organizing those and directing those, so the kids will get to speak with an astronaut. And all kinds of cool stuff. We definitely try to get the people there from other countries. We do have a contingent coming from Argentina this time, and from France and South Korea and West Malaysia, I believe we have this year, in addition to Canada and some from the U.S. So. Should be a great time. Up in Halifax will be VE1 Yoda up there, and make sure you listen for us in July, and we'll be sharing more about Yoda as things go on. But that's some of the fun that we get to let the kids have, and that's what makes it different. Is we're not doing most of it. The kids are out there doing it. That's what it's all about.
When I see those pictures, it reinforces one thing that I know for sure. I was born way too early, because I would have loved to have had something like that as a kid. I mean, I was studying for my ham ticket when I was 15, and then life and broadcasting and cars and a move to New Orleans got in the way, and it was 20 years later. And the whole space camp thing was another thing that eluded me that I always wanted to do. But we get to sit back. I get to sit back and brush my silver hair and watch you have fun with all of these kids. And it's just, I know it's got to be so rewarding. I mean, it's as a teacher and a ham, and you were at one time the youngest ham on the planet back when you were 5, I think, when you were first licensed.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm just you're a good guy, a better friend, and a great human being, and I'm just so proud to know you. We're also very proud to have you on the Newsline team. And let's go ahead and roll through some of those Young Ham of the Year pictures.
Because that nominations.
Going until the
spiel.
end. Yeah, going until the end of May. I'm not going to even try to tell you names because at this point in the day, I can't remember my own name. But these are all, I believe, all of these are presentations. That is Case. That's last year. That's presentations of the award at the Huntsville Ham Fest. Just kind of rotate. I don't even know what all pictures are in here because Amanda put all these together. But there's Joe taking some pictures there from the ceremony down in Huntsville, and that ceremony is always very well attended. I mean, there's a lot of people in the seats right there in front of it. So, it's the highlight of my year is being able to go down there.
And there's our Yoda booth and Yoda contingent there, and one in the little display there.
Mm-hmm.
Face you may recognize.
See that. That's really all we have for youth or the Young Ham of the Year.
Okay, that's plenty. It's
but Don, give the sales pitch for the nominations. We've got nominations open. So
that as well as just the Huntsville Ham Fest. This is my favorite Ham Fest. I mean, I've not been to Orlando, so I can't gauge it by Orlando, but I have been to Dayton and Xenia. And still, I love Dayton and Xenia, but Huntsville just holds a very warm place in my heart because that was the first big ham fest I went to. It's where I first met Bill Pasternak and had really gotten seriously involved with Amateur Radio Newsline. And that was 1995. So I think I've only missed 2 or 3 years. One was a year that we didn't do the presentation for one reason or another. And the other was COVID years. And that's really the only time that I haven't made it to Huntsville. But go on our website, arnewsline.org. Under the awards tab, you'll see you'll find the nominating form for the Young Ham of the Year. Get that in. Email it back to us before midnight Eastern on May. How many days are there in May? 31, right? 30 days. The end of the last day of May. 30. The last day of May. Get it in before midnight, and then of course just about 3 months later, the third weekend in August, which is exactly 3 months after Huntsville. After Dayton. So the third weekend in August, we will all convene at the Huntsville Ham Fest and present the award. So there you go. That's everything you need to know, I think, for the moment about Amateur Radio Newsline and the Young Ham of the Year Award, which we continue on in Bill Pasternak's name. It is now the WA6ITF Memorial Young Ham of the Year. We're carrying on in his footsteps, and I think that's about all I have. You have anything else that you think we need to add that I've forgotten?
Well, you just got to make sure you read the fine print here on the.
See, shirt. I can't even see the fine print. I see. I love my wife. What does it say? I love it when my wife lets me what?
Practice ham radio.
Practice ham radio. Okay, I've seen various.
That may have been a gift from my wife. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Yeah, I've seen various versions of that shirt. Everything from I love it when my wife lets me buy hot rod parts to buy ham radios to buy new guns to whatever it is that she's really not into, but you really are, and she puts up with it and you, and therefore you are obligated to wear the shirt just because you should.
Exactly. So,
all right,
there you
Neil
go.
Rapp, WB9 VPG. Thank you so much for being on with us tonight. And
thanks, Neil. Good to see you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks. Good to see you.
Give us the website again for the Yoda stuff. Is there a particular website?
Youthontheair.org.
Well, that makes it easy, doesn't it?
Yep. Youthontheair.org.
All right, very good. Well,
and we will have that lounge Steve was talking about. We always have a youth social at noon on Friday and Saturday at Dayton, and so there's a break in the youth rally there, so people can come to that. So if you have a young person or you are a young person and you're at Dayton, come see us at noon on Friday and Saturday. We'll feed you and give you some refreshing beverages.
Good deal. There's a really great youth lounge at Huntsville Ham Fest too that Dr. Monty Bacon puts on. So absolutely. They have the robotics team generally there as well. That's always a good time. Good time. Neil, thank you so much for being on with us tonight. We certainly appreciate it. I guess we'll throw it back over to Josh and see how we can wrap it up tonight.
Well, yeah, no, little long show this week. We got
It's
a
all
lot
right.
to talk about with the Eclipse. Obviously, very important information. So you heard it, guys. 10-hour window for that QSO party. So it's not just the Eclipse, right? So get out there and start transmitting FT8 early if you're going to do that. Get those contacts out there. But yeah, let's.
And if you're gonna watch it, remember eye protection, eye protection, eye protection.
Please, yeah, you need those things. It turns out. So make sure.
And I just got a message from Grace. She's still on. So 1435.
I've got the waterfall.
J62K.
Yeah, I've got the waterfall open right now. I'm gonna go make a contact after we wrap up here. So let's start at the top. Gordo, anything you want to mention before we head out?
No. What a great show tonight. Good to see you all, Steve. Thanks for your input. And Neil, always great to see you. And always good to hear all the news that you have as well.
Thank you, Gordo. Appreciate it.
I don't know where the echo's coming from, but man, we had a Skype update. I had an OBS update. I had all these updates, so apologize if the echo's not gone. But Don, how are you doing? How are we going to wrap up? What do you got? Anything you want to mention?
I don't just Amateur Radio Newsline every Friday we release it, and keep up with the news of the week from Amateur Radio Newsline. Of course, go check out Dr. T at spaceweatherwoman.com and also at Tamitha Skov on X. That's probably the best way to keep track of everything that she does. She's constantly posting on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. And
thanks to you, Don, for making that happen.
Well, thank you very much. It's one of the highlights, I think, of my ham radio endeavors. I think is she credits me for finding her.
That's right.
And just serendipitous luck. I was in the right place at the right time, and so proud to have her as a friend. Proud to have Gordo as a good friend. Neil, and of course everybody here on Hamvention is just one big family. And we love each other, and we love you guys for watching. I guess that's about all I have to say.
Yes, indeed, and Steve, you made it all the way through, buddy. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Anything you want to mention?
Heavily caffeinated.
Thanks for having me. And youth that you get out to date, absolutely swing by our youth lounge, by Neil's youth lounge, because you run into different kids in different places and make those connections and make friends. So.
Steve, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for being had tonight.
Thank you for having me and putting the coffee.
Yes, indeed. Well, I think that's going to do it for everybody. I think I lost the echo, then I got it back, but I think we sorted it. But anyway,
live TV.
Yeah, I'll have my own little Skype conversation after the show to sort out what's going on there. But appreciate you guys dealing with us and getting all through it. So until we talk to you again, 73.
Good night.
Perfect timing on the bell. Yeah, definitely need the gong show on this one. Thanks, everybody. See ya.
Good night.
But who's the unknown comic?